We ready? Start. If our neighboring countries have, in a sense, the first place in our minds, then the second place goes to the other countries of Asia with whom we are also fairly intimately connected. Now, India is very curiously placed in Asia, and her history has been governed a great deal by the geographical factor plus other factors. Whichever problem in Asia you may take up somehow or other, India comes into the picture. Whether you think in terms of China or the Middle East or Southeast Asia, India immediately comes into the picture. It is so situated that because of past history, traditions, etc., in regard to any major problem of a country or group of countries of Asia, India has to be considered. Whether it is a problem of defense or trade or industry or economic policy, India cannot be ignored. She cannot be ignored because, as I said, her geographical position is a compelling reason. She cannot be ignored also because of her actual or potential power and resources. Para. Therefore, whatever our own views may be, by virtue of her practical position and other regions, India is bound to play an important part in Asia, whether it is Western Asia or the far east of Southeast Asia. It so happens, of course, that even culturally speaking, our bonds are very great with all these parts of Asia, whether it is Western Asia or the far east of Southeast Asia, and these bonds are very old and very persistent. Para. A very curious thing happened when, roughly speaking, British power came to India and British dominion was established here. There was the reason why we were cut off from our neighboring countries of Asia. Our contacts were then with England across the seas, and while to some extent we struggled against that domination and resented those contacts, nevertheless they were there, and we saw the world more and more through that window, the British window. Very few people went to the other Asian countries from India, and very few came here from there. And even those few people from Asia we met in Europe and not in Asia. Now, in recent years, that process has been reversed or is being reversed for a variety of reasons. Initially, I suppose the one major factor was air travel. Air travel brought us immediately into close contact with our neighbors, because if we went to Europe, we passed through Baghdad and Tehran and other places. Air travel not the only factor, there are also political reasons that are now bringing about these changes for future development. Para. Some people talk rather loosely, and if I may say so, rather foolishly, of India becoming the leader of this or the leader of that or the leader of Asia. Now, I do not like that at all. It is a bad approach, this business of leadership, but it is true that because of the various factors I have mentioned, a certain special responsibility is cast on India. India realizes it, and other countries realize it also. The responsibility is not necessarily for leadership, but for taking the initiative sometimes and helping others to cooperate. Para. Now, foreign policy is normally something which develops gradually. Apart from certain theoretical propositions, we may lay down it is a thing which, if it is real, has come relation, actuality, and not merely to pure theory. Therefore, we cannot precisely lay down our general outlook or general approach, but gradually it develops. We are, as an independent country, a fairly young country at present, although we are a very ancient country and we have all the advantages and disadvantages of being an ancient country. Nevertheless, in the present context of foreign policy, we are a young country and therefore our foreign policy is gradually developing, and there is no particular reason why we should rush in all over the place and do something that comes in the way of this gradual development. As I said, our general policy has been to try to cultivate friendly relations with all countries, but that is which anyone can say. It is not a very helpful thought. It is almost outside, if I may say so, of politics. It may be just a verbal statement or a moral urge. It is hardly a political urge. Nevertheless, something can be said for it even on the political plane. We cannot perhaps be friendly always with every country. The alternative is to become very friendly with some and hostile to others. That is the normal foreign policy of a country, very friendly with close relations with some, with the consequence that you are hostile to others. You may be very friendly to some countries and you cannot just be equally friendly with all countries. Naturally, you are more friendly with those with whom you have closer relations, but that great friendliness is good. But if it merely reflects hostility to some other country, then it is something different. Stop.